This podcast was brought to you by Meros Cryptocurrency. Meros is a cryptocurrency payment system that does what cryptocurrency originally intended to do. Be a practical and secure form of direct payment, Meros utilizes the best of current technology in a powerful new way. It introduces a groundbreaking consensus mechanism called merit caching. This enables Meros to be both feeless and instant while maintaining the same level of integrity of traditional networks like Bitcoin. To find out how you can participate in the future of crypto payments, go to meroscrypto.io now.
Hello and welcome to the March edition of the PIVX Budget and Governance Call with me, your host, CryptoSI. And we've got an absolutely packed lineup this week, or this month, sorry. Every month we have this call. It's a conference call where we discuss proposals. It was initially alliances, but now we just discuss all proposals. We get previous proposals to come on and give an update, and we generally give a different format to looking on the forum, so you can just listen to the proposers and hear what they've got to say. So on today's call, we've got OneZetty, who will be proposing his PIVX Press, which is in Spanish, a video update. I'll get him to speak about that first. Then we're going to get a recap from Zenzo, who were on last month's call, who are speaking about a proposed alliance, which by all accounts is going very well. And then finally, hopefully, we will get John M on, who is our exchange coordinator. I've just spoken to him and he says he is currently stuck in traffic in some sort of snowstorm in his part of the world. So let's just cross our fingers that he gets on in time. All right, so without any further delays, we'll go straight on to our first guest, who is OneZetty. OneZetty, how are you, sir?
Hello everyone. I'm very good, thank you.
Excellent. So OneZetty, you've been in the community for a long time now, probably coming up to 2 years, I guess. Well, I've seen you around. This is actually the first time, I think it's the first time I've actually spoken to you, which is quite strange, but I guess it happens in decentralized communities. So could you tell us a little bit about your proposal and what you aim to do, how much it costs and things like that, please?
Thank you. Well, this is my second proposal. It's the continuity of my first proposal that was approved last December. My proposal is for the version of the PIVX Express, but in Spanish. It's focused on the Spanish community, and I decided to do it because nobody wasn't do it in the time. I love the PIVX community, but I think the Spanish community was absolutely nothing. I mean, there was nothing for the Spanish community. I know the effort of Hannah to make translation, but sometimes you need to hear it in your own language what PIVX is all about. So I started with the idea of the PIVX Express in Spanish. I started to make it by only by practicing, And now I think I reached some quality, some nice quality. So for the last 3 months, I've been recording, editing, and publishing myself, only me, for the community in Spanish. In this moment, we reach 45 subscribers in the Spanish YouTube channel, the Spanish one. We're reaching around 45 views per video on average. And now we start to grow in more communities. I mean, I'm moving around the communities I can find in Venezuela, in Colombia, and I start to promoting PIVX all around the Latin America. So my first proposal was but only for 2 months. I make my proposal for January, February, and March. Pass on January, didn't pass in February, and passed on March. So I took the budget for the 2 months, and now I think it's time to make another proposal to continue the effort. Well, what I asking for? I asking for 3 months, for April, March, and June. But this time I want to include two people that will help me to increase the community. I think they will help me to increase the community. The first one is Michael Michnik. He is from Venezuela. He's a new YouTuber. He talks about cryptocurrencies, and he developed technical analysis about cryptocurrencies. Not only about prices, but he's the principal thing he does. He will help me talking about PIVX. In some aspect, I cannot talk because I have no experience. He will deliver a technical analysis in Spanish for the Spanish community. And the second one is Marichuy. She is from Venezuela, and she will help me for the Spanish PIVX Instagram account. For the last year, I've been handle all the accounts of PIVX in Spanish: the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTube, and of course the Spanish channels on Discord, the Telegram channel. But I'm running out of time. I have no more time for maintain a good quality of the post I do it. So I'm asking for help because I think Marichuy, she have an experience handle, social media accounts. So she will start to help me up with the Instagram account because it's very good way to reach new people, and especially the Jonas. The young people, they don't use Facebook anymore. They don't use Twitter. They don't use Discord. Sometimes they don't use another social media than Instagram. So she will help me to reach all these people in Instagram, and I think it's going to be one of the best social media accounts we can use for increase the potential of and visibility of PIVX. And Michael will help me with the technical analysis and with the analysis of the project of PIVX. My idea is they will start to participate in the DAO, the PIVX, because of me. I will include them in my own proposal. The idea is show them the way. I hope they will start to make their own proposal very soon. That's my idea, but sometimes you have to show them the way, like you did with me. I mean, I'm very thankful with Rubarbarian, of course with CryptoSI and John and all the community, because you show me the way. You include me sometimes in their own proposal. Of course, I think thanks to Hannah, and now it's my time to do it the same. I will include these two people in my own proposal because I think it's the perfect way to show them the way. And I hope next time they will make their own proposal for continue the work. I will in charge to see the quality of the posts, of course, the quality of the videos. I will be in charge of this. I will take this money, I will receive this money, and I will send them to them, because I think in this way will increase the possibility of more Spanish investors and Spanish community. So I'm asking 1,200 pips for the full 3 months, of course, divided in 3 months. So it's going to be divided in 75 pips for the PIV Express in Spanish, 2 videos per month. 300 pips for the Michael Michnik Spanish Trade Analyzer, 2 videos per month, and 150 pips for Marichuy for handle the Spanish PIVX Instagram account, 1 per day minimum. It's going to be a minimum in that cases. So make it 1,200 pips plus 50 for the proposal, making 470 pips monthly for 3 months. Oh, I think that's all. Sorry if you don't understand me. I'm sorry. I give you my apologies. The English, remember, the English is my second language.
Okay, thank you so much. I didn't quite get the calculations on the costs, but I guess we can always link the actual written proposal, and your written English is pretty much perfect. So I'll put the link to that in the description for this podcast. And what I'll do whilst we're doing it live is I'll also, during the course of this call, put that link into the PIVX Lounge and the Budget Proposals channel. But I just wanted to quickly ask you a question, which was that you're also a PIVX ambassador. Do you think that PIVX is doing well growing within the Spanish community, or do you think there are other things that we could do to help the growth of PIVX within the Spanish community?
Yeah, well, my beginning in PIVX was for ambassador. Actually, the first one, and trust me, was the PIVX promoter. So I think the PIVX ambassador is a great initiative because you are able to represent PIVX in your community. Yes, if you embrace the idea and you become ambassador, you can make bigger things, like I did. I mean, I'm start like ambassador with a small budget. I given some talks in universities to my friends. I share PIVX with all my knowledge, with all my fellowships and my friends, my family. Now, the PIVX ambassador maybe is too small for me. Maybe it's too small for me. But because of that, and thanks to that, I become bigger. If you allow me to call me, sorry, that way. I want more. I don't want to be only ambassador. I love to be ambassador, but I want to become bigger. So I'm start with making the videos for free. I make videos almost a year for free. Why? Because I love to do it. And then when I reach some type of quality, I make a proposal that I think was successful. And now I want to bring more people to the DAO, bring more of my fellowships to the DAO. But you have to understand that sometimes fear is your biggest enemy. The fear of lose 50 pips. You may think, hey, 50 pips is nothing. But if you have nothing, like us in Latin America, 50 pips is a lot of money. So it's a lot of money in some countries. So what I want to do it is maybe convince them to be ambassadors, of course. Maybe they cannot. In some countries, you cannot promote cryptocurrency. Sometimes you cannot. Like, for example, they explain me now in Venezuela, you cannot promote openly. You cannot promote cryptocurrencies openly. You need a permission of the state. So they want to participate in a community, but only in the digital way. They cannot do what I do. They cannot go to the streets and promote PIVX, and that happens all around Latin America. So if I can bring them to the community in a digital way, maybe they cannot promote PIVX like I did in the last 2 years, but maybe they can do it in a different way, in a digital way. Help me with the PIVX Instagram. Maybe they can help me handle the Twitter account. Maybe they can help me with translations. Maybe like Michael, like he's a genius about the trading. I'm not a trader. I cannot talk. When some people talk to me about what do you think about price PIVX, I say I have no idea. I have no idea. I never talk about price because I am not a trader. I hate trade. I just buy PIVX and sell PIVX when I need it. If I able to pay in PIVX, I pay always in PIVX. Sometimes I cannot, but if I can buy something using PIVX, I just do it. I don't care about the price. but some people did. So for that, I need help, and this is the perfect way to bring these people to the community, to show them the way, the same way you show me the way.
Excellent. Thank you very much, OneZetty. Just to clarify, you've just put it into the lounge, but I'm just going to say it for the purposes of the recording, that the proposal is actually for 1,200 PIV plus the 50 PIV reimbursement for the proposal fee across 3 months. So it's actually 417 PIV per month, that's amazing value. I guess I don't think we could get that amount of value anywhere else in the world. So yeah, that's awesome. Before we move on, I'd like to give anybody else on the call the chance to ask any questions about OneZetty's proposal, or even about anything that he's just spoken about with regards to cryptocurrency and PIVX within Latin America, which was also quite fascinating. So if anybody's got any questions.
Fire on.
Okay, well, I've got one. The two people that you mentioned, are they already in the PIVX Discord? And if so, do they speak English? And what are their handles? What are their names?
Yes, they are in the PIVX community. Right now, they're not unconnecting because Venezuela is crossing for an electricity problem at this moment. But yes, they're in the community. I will tag them. Sorry, I cannot tag in Spanish. in English, sorry. Okay.
So it's Michael Mitnick and Mary Chui.
I'm not sure about Mary Chui. I'm not sure about she speak English. I'm not sure. The Michael, I'm sure he speak English and he is able to read in English. Not sure how much is good, because of course when we talk in Spanish. we never talk in English between us.
That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. In fact, it's better that we are building these communities around native languages, because that's the way an international community is supposed to work anyway. So it's awesome. I did want to ask, what sorts of topics will you be making for the PIVX Press? Will they follow a similar kind of format to what Snappy was doing, but just in a Spanish language, or did you have any other types of things planned?
So far, it's a copycat from Snappy. Actually, Snappy is like the god. I mean, for me, is the model that I follow. And yes, it's a copycat. Of course, I talk about. I try to talk about the news, the quotes about the news, and the same way. Of course, not the same way. Snappy is a genius, but copying the most I can about the news and talk about the community, most about blog posts, and the most important news about PIVX. Yeah, that's all. That's all I do about in this moment. Sometimes when I'm able to make some interview, like I did in the last year in Colombia, I make interviews. Yes, I try to make more things about PIVX. Sometimes I run out of time. That's why I need some help right now for increase the PIVX content. Maybe someone in some time will take my place making the news, and I can start to make interviews. Maybe it's a possibility. But yes, for the moment, it's only like I am the version of Snappy in Spanish.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, OneZetty. This is a last chance to anybody who does want to ask OneZetty any questions. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Okay, I think I have a question in the launch PIVX. Definitely great value. Thank you, Taco, for your comment. Thank you, Jordan B. Thank you, Jay Skitty. Thank you, Jeffrey. Yeah, well, thank you. Any question, please? I will be happy to answer any question about the two people I mentioned. I already told them about include them in my proposal. I say, hey, I will include you in my proposal. You agree with me be with me? And they say yes. Specific, they say yes. So maybe this will be a perfect time to make a small group. This is a small group of 3 people trying to make it bigger, the community. Maybe the next time, in 3 months, maybe we will make it bigger. I hope we will be able to do that. I think PIVX has a great opportunity, not only in Mexico or Cancun, but all Latin America. So I hope you like my proposal. And anyway, if you have any question, please feel free to ask me about in the forum, in here, in the Discord, in Telegram, or Twitter, whatever you want. Gracias, CryptoSI, for the opportunity.
OneZetty, you are an absolute star. Yeah, I personally love the proposal. I think it's great. So, but I'm going to try to remain neutral. But yeah, I'm going to give up. No, it's a great proposal. So thank you so much for bringing it forward, and thank you so much for your time. I'm going to move on to Zenzo. Now, Zenzo did last week we discussed about an alliance, and we made some small changes to the proposal that they were planning to put forward. Just before we went on air, there was a proposal shared in the budget proposals channel and I believe the governance channel. I didn't get a chance to read it because it was literally just as we started to record. But luckily, we have got Joseph Bryce and also Urin B, I'm assuming are going to be the 2 guys that are going to do the chatting today. Hi, Joseph, first of all, how are you?
Hello, I'm well, how are you?
Excellent. Yeah, it's great. I kind of feel like I'm speaking to you every other day now, seeing as we, between this and the podcast, I've spoken to you like 3 out of the last 4 weeks. And
yeah, it's been frequent.
Yeah. And also, Urin B, how are you, mate?
I'm great, brother. How you doing?
Yeah. I'm good. Great to have you guys back on the conference call again. So, Joseph, I'll let you lead as you're still here, and I know you're the head honcho. So, could you bring us up to date on what's been happening with the Zenzo / PIVX alliance, please?
Yeah. So, as you kind of mentioned earlier when we were chatting, it's been a fruitful relationship. We have a lot of interactivity, and the communities have been really grown to be quite cohesive. So you'll see a lot of people in both Discords kind of interacting on both PIVX and Zenzo's behalf. So it's really nice to kind of build this community. It's something we both, I think, have in our vision. So essentially what we were putting forth in our proposal is a 1 year, we call it a friendly alliance, where we're kind of just supportive by nature. We've already been kind of doing that anyway. So in this, we've kind of broken down in the proposal. You see it broken down into different phases, and there's 5 of them actually there. And we list different things that we're looking to do in each phase, and each one of those phases will essentially become their own proposal down the road, so that we allow people to actually kind of use the governance system the way that it should be, and interact with every single change that we're making in the future, to not only incorporate PIVX into our ecosystem and different payment methods and things like that, but also to pull in resources from PIVX in the future if need be, if it makes sense for both parties. So we kind of set our proposal up to kind of mimic that idealism, to where we can work together initially, and it's not at any binding term, basically. So we wanted to do that essentially at the 1 year mark, and then we've highlighted and broke them down very specifically throughout that. So phase 1 is essentially us just incorporating PIVX into our arcade marketplace, where people can buy games and things like that. And we also will be doing some co-branding things in there, where we are tying it into the banner as a payment method, and different things like that, and how you can utilize PIV to actually buy the games. So that's kind of the update of how we want to kind of break it down and how it's changed a little bit since last time.
Okay, I'm just actually looking through the document now. So what I'll do actually, because it does seem like we could probably get through most of this now. I think we've got enough time. So the first phase is the marketplace, which will be PIV being able to be used within the marketplace. The second phase is arcade games, which will be to integrate PIV into sign up to play some of the Zenzo arcade games. Third place is esports. How far are you guys on with doing these esports? Is this still an early stage in the planning, or are these kind of competitions pretty much certain to go ahead?
Yeah, so a little bit of both, really. So essentially, we're going to actually have this eventually built into a platform system that makes it easier for people to kind of function and operate their own esports tournaments, as well as incorporating it into governance. But we are going to be doing things with tournaments, and we are sponsoring some tournaments already. But we're also looking to kind of start pulling in, probably within the next couple of months by summer, start pulling in some tournaments for different games. So we're currently actually looking at where we're going to start placing those tournaments first.
And actually, RC Tech, one of the great guys who we're working with and partnering with now for a blockchain, Ethereum-based blockchain game, Axie Infinity, is actually in this chat here as well. And that'll be one of the first esports championships and leagues that we're sponsoring. I just shared a little bit in the PIVX Lounge, but we can share a little bit more information later as well. But to give you a little bit of a recap, a lot of those phases that are actually on the proposal, we're going to be basically working on them and refining them to add more concise and clear information as we go along. Really just kind of focused on phase one for now, but wanted to give everyone a rough overview of everything we wanted to add and to work with PIVX in general.
Okay, so Axie itself is that's a game, is it? I've just tried to Google it.
Yeah, it's called Axie Infinity. I'll share a link. I just posted in the PIVX Lounge. Pretty cool game run by a bunch of really cool guys here in Vietnam as well. I've met many of them, the team, and some friends with some of the core team here. And a really some epic plans for this game as well. But I don't want to talk too much about it. But if anyone is interested, feel free to join our Discord or join the Axie Discord, or just link up with me. Happy to share more information. I've been a player since beta as well, so I could probably share a few things with you.
Awesome. Okay, so the proposal as it is, as you've shared it, is that the proposal you're going to be putting forward to the masternodes during this super block, or has it already gone in? Has it already been put forward?
No, we were waiting to this new super block, and then it's basically just going to be phase one. We're just going to take it step by step, and it'll also include the friendly alliance that we've kind of mentioned as well. But it's really specifically for phase one, integrating PIVX into our video game marketplace and arcade.
Okay, awesome. We don't have actually anybody from our marketing team in on the call as far as I can see. John M's here now. Awesome. So I guess that'll be down to you guys to speak to Rhubarb. I'm told that he's the guy to be contacted. Have you guys already been in touch with him about co-promotion and us promoting Zenzo stuff for our official channels? Have you spoken to him about that?
Not specifically yet. I did catch up with him the other day, and I just offered to help out and offer any extra design skills and extra hand to Chad or Rhubarb if they needed anything. But we haven't specifically spoken about Zenzo and PIVX together. But I'd be happy to reach out to him after we submit the proposal.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for the update. Does anybody have any questions regarding Zenzo on the Zenzo PIVX Alliance?
I just had a quick question. I know before you guys had talked about integrating crypto, such as PIVX or others, into in-game transactions. I think we talked about it with Rust for a little bit. Do you guys see the size of the PIVX blockchain hindering that at all, or do you think there's a workaround?
I don't see any hindrance in that. So initially, we're going to be kind of setting it up for it's kind of going to be off-chain transactions initially. So it'll simplify and kind of eliminate any issues that would have been concerning that. And that'll happen through our marketplace as well. So the in-game stuff, obviously, we'll expand on as we make more developments and progress down that kind of through that phase of our of Zenzo, essentially.
Beauty. All right. Thanks, guys.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
So more than a question, I want just to say that I was able to join the community, and I make the experiment. I like experiments, so I buy a couple games using the token they use, and it was very simple. As a gamer, I talk like a gamer. I think it's an excellent platform. So if Zenzo include PIVX as a payment, I can tell you it's going to be bigger because I'm a gamer. I love to buy games, but it's intrusive. You have to use your credit card. You have to use PayPal. So this is going to be a big opportunity to increase the visibility of PIVX. And I think it's going to be bigger when we start to working together in promoting the both brands. Thank you for the effort, guys. You're making excellent.
Thank you.
You're awesome, OneZetty. We love you, man.
Yeah, I've also got a question, actually. Would it be possible to have some sort of bot hooked up to the Discord that perhaps lets us know because we've got a gaming channel in PIVX, lets us know of new releases or special deals or special value games that have come out, things like that can tell us directly within the Discord if we wanted it to tell us?
I think you should let Kitty, the bot master.
Does he direct that at Kitty?
He's in here, so you want to chime in on that, Kitty?
Yeah, I did post a message, but so yeah, the PIVX bot itself could definitely be integrated to do that. There is an API that can pull every game from the arcade, so that's what could be done.
Okay, can we get that added to the document then? Because that would be good for me as well. I guess quite a few of us here also play a lot of games, so even though yeah, that would be quite good if we could get that added to the document. I would love to see the bot let us know when there were certain games out that I could spend my PIV on, and then it would be helpful actually when we're tipping people. Then they would know that there's something that they can immediately go and spend their PIV on.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions before we move on to John M? Has anybody else got any questions for Zenzo? Okay, fine. Joseph and Urim B, it's been great having you guys on. As usual, I love catching up with you guys. Is there anything else you want to say before you go?
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. Nothing specifically, just stay tuned. We're going to be releasing the white paper and a lot of information about how we're going about building this. So for people who haven't spoken with us directly, it'll be a nice source of information on what you can expect and see a little bit more on how it might actually benefit PIVX as well.
Okay, also, before we move on, I just wanted to say that we finished recently, at the beginning of last week, actually, we finished the Godot module, which should make it easier to add games to Godot, which is the one open source gaming engine. Not sure if you're aware of it or not. I'm not sure if you guys may find that useful or if the other guys within the Axie, I think you said it was, they may find it useful because it runs on PIVX and Bitcoin, but Zenzo being a PIVX fork, you may find some use in the code there. I will upload it and put out a press release or something like that about it tomorrow or as soon as I get time. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know of that before we moved on.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem. So our final guest is the man known by the name of John M, who thankfully has managed to get here and battled the excruciating weather conditions in his part of the world. John, how are you?
Oh, good. How's it going?
Yep, it's going absolutely great.
Yeah, the weather. Oh, the weather sucks today. It's
well,
bad.
it's not too bad here. We don't live in the North Pole, so you don't have nowhere near as much snow. But yeah, John, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do for PIVX and your current proposal?
Yeah, sure. So most of what I do is business development. So what that entails is reaching out to exchanges and getting listed is sort of one of the biggest parts of it. Not just that, it's the negotiations with those exchanges. And it gets fairly complicated. Like an exchange in China negotiates differently than an exchange in Korea, which negotiates different than an exchange in the US. So it's just sort of keeping on top of that, keeping up to date with these exchanges to see, hey, what's happening there? Is there a shift where I can maybe sneak us in, or are they implementing one of our clones? Because then it's also easier to get listed. Another big thing is working with payment processors. So things like coin payments or what's that? There's a card. I forget what the name of the card is, but stuff like that where you're just really trying to get up the adoption and the use case of PIVX. As we all know, it's a great project, so there's no reason it shouldn't be on these things. Sometimes these companies just take a bit of negotiating. Other than that, I guess with our existing partnerships, also helping marketing design plans on how we're going to promote it, where we're going to promote it, and what we think the best promotion route is. And then, what are they called? I'm drawing a blank here. Conferences. Yeah, you need to be at conferences, make your friends there, because it's a lot easier if you go to these conferences to sort of hang out with the people at the top instead of trying to work your way from the bottom up, which seems to be the case with most cases. So it's good to go make your friends, meet in person, and they're a whole lot more receptive to talk to you after.
Okay. Before we get on to any questions that we've got planned, I just, as a follow-up to what you were saying there, are there any particular conferences that you're looking forward to going to, or that you're planning on going to for PIVX this year?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. There's a lot of good conferences, and I'm looking forward to a couple here. So there's one, I'm trying to Magical Money something in New York in May. I believe the guys from Monero are putting that on. Magical Crypto Conference, maybe that's what it's called. That looks like it's going to be a good one. And because it's the whole privacy coin focus, I think it'd be good for us to have a presence there as well. And then, of course, there's Consensus, which is sort of a big pain in the butt, but you do make good connections there. So that's always a good one, too. And New York's fairly close, so that's pretty decent. Recently, I was cleared to fly longer than 2-3 hours. So if there's anything half decent around, I'm sure I could make my way out. I hope Dallas, Texas has one again this year. The last one was pretty good, and we made some good connections there.
What was the conference in Dallas, Texas? I don't know.
It was the Super Crypto Conference last year. It's where I actually met Michael Bisping, who was the one that gave us the Chris Cyborg hookup for sponsorship there.
Oh, super cool. Okay. So these are the questions that we've actually had planned. So could you tell us, well, I don't know if it's possible, but are there any prominent exchanges that you're actively targeting that you can speak about?
Yes and no. A little bit, sort of not in too much detail, but one I've been trying to work with for the last few months is Huobi. I was talking to their team, and then they did an internal restructuring, let a bunch of people go, and unfortunately that was one of the guys, the guy that I was talking to. But apparently he's still really good friends with their listing team, so I'm trying to work something out with him where we can sort of get the direct attention of the manager of the listing team and hopefully figure something out there. Places like Coinbase, for example, have a completely exhausting entrance program where you have to do all this verification. It's like a 4-month application to even like get in, get approved, and that's not even guaranteed listing. That's just for them to look at you. So it's strenuous, but it could be worth it in the long run if we can figure that out. Personally, I'm not the biggest Coinbase fan, but I do understand the potential of how a partnership with them could work to our advantage.
Do you think it's possible that PIVX could get onto a platform like Coinbase? Do you feel that privacy holds us back at all?
I think it makes them take a double look. Now, the good thing with PIVX is that the privacy is optional, right? It's not forced privacy, because that automatically means exclusion from these big exchanges. So it's really just, or more, I should say more so exclusion from fiat markets, which is where you want to be, because it's great and it's good to have these pairs, but right now, as it is for most places, people have to buy their Bitcoin, then send their Bitcoin to an exchange, trade it to PIVX, and then withdraw their PIVX. So it's a pain. It'd be a lot easier just to go straight bank account to PIVX. So that's sort of my focus that I'm working on here, trying to focus on that as well as partnerships. These people that are being deplatformed across social media, people that are having their bank account shut down, mostly for either their political views or their just notoriety online. A lot of people are getting shut down recently. So obviously nothing that goes against PIVX's sort of core values and image, but there's lots of opportunity out there. So just hunting all that down.
Okay. The next question is, what are your views on market makers, and are PIVX using any of them?
All right. So this is sort of a double-edged sword. Market maker dependence really comes down to what country the exchange you're trying to deal with is in. So in America, for example, Bittrex absolutely hates market makers. And if they catch you using market makers, they might delist you. It's considered wash trading, and it's actually illegal in the United States. Now, that being said, if you go to an exchange in China, for example, they will demand a market maker. And we actually had a case recently. I'm trying to remember the name of the exchange that just delisted us. What was it? IDAX, yes. So we paid IDAX back in December to be listed. I think it was December or November, somewhere around there. And I told them then, no, we're not going to have a market maker. It just really doesn't fit in our model. Because this market maker is like you have to send $250,000 to $500,000. They trade markets for you, make liquidity. It's all fake volume. And it's no real benefit. Sometimes it'll draw traders in, but not enough. So they wanted us to use a market maker, and I kindly refused. I said, hey, we'll do a marketing push. We'll get people over to the exchange. Because once we listed on IDEX, there wasn't a lot of volume over there. It just wasn't the ideal market for us, I guess. So 24 hours later, I got a letter saying that we were going to be delisted. It was a real pain, but I figured we don't want to do business with an exchange like that. If they're that savage about delisting and using their market makers in specific. You always got to watch out when exchanges say to use our market makers or we'll delist you. I just refuse to be strong-armed on that. But I do think market makers, if used properly, especially for Asian exchanges, can be beneficial for volume, absolutely. But sadly, it's mostly fake volume, and then you're just drawing people in with that. But it does bring some. I understand why some people use it. I just don't think we're at a stage where we really need to use it yet, or we really have $500,000 to throw at it, sort of deal.
I just, like, out of curiosity, looking through some of the exchanges on CoinMarketCap, there are some exchanges that I've never heard of with coins that I've never heard of with absolutely huge trading volumes. How much of the total volume that is put out there on, like, CoinMarketCap, for example, how much of that do you think is market makers?
I think about 99% of that is bullshit trades, and it's all market makers. Sorry, pardon my language. It's all fake trades. It's all wash trading, and it's these exchanges that come by overnight. They'll have these large investors or these guys that sort of get in early, and they'll pump the hell out of whatever's on there to try to bring that up, to bring people in so they can dump down on them. It's shady as hell. And I'd always give an exchange 6 months at least of being open and sort of kicking to become reputable. And then you check the reputation and do your own research on it and all that great stuff. But these exchanges that pop up so quickly and they're just like astronomical volume, it's all fake. Then they try to extort these new projects, and they prey on these weaker projects that are just starting out to pay these crazy fees for listing on these no-name exchanges. And one example we saw recently was at Bitcoin Private, paying HitBTC $500,000 for listing and then getting delisted right after. So you always have to be wary of stuff like that.
Is there, as users, are there any things that we should be careful about with these sorts of exchanges, or are they fine to use? Just out of curiosity.
I think it comes down to a case-by-case basis. As I said, do your research on the exchange. Look up in the forums, on Reddit, on Bitcoin Talk. Do people have a lot of complaints? Can you see who the team is? That's another big thing. I know it's all about privacy, but at the end of the day, you want to know who's creating this. Did some college kid with barely any coding education create an exchange that's going to get robbed overnight? Or is there a solid team behind it? Do you think it's a compliant exchange? I know sometimes with PIVX, you don't really want to deal with KYC and compliance, but it also gives a certain level of security in your transactions. And by security, I mean stability. Like, you know, the exchange probably isn't going to run with your $100 worth of PIVX that you deposit. But you can also never be too sure. I always recommend just put on an exchange what you're going to trade and pull it off immediately back into your wallet. Never leave it, because as you know, if you don't own your keys, you don't own the coins.
Awesome. The final question that we've got here is, do you have any info on what's happening with ZDEX?
No. So ZDEX isn't sort of in my scope. It's not something that I officially work on. I know it's out there. I know they're working on it. And I obviously know PIVX is their base pair. As I know more, I can give updates, but I'm just not really in the loop with ZDEX as it is right now.
Do you feel like PIVX would benefit greatly from having an exchange which used PIVX as its base pair? Do you think that would be a big benefit to PIVX?
In short, no. Do I think it's cool to have? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to drive adoption and skyrocket price? No, I don't see it personally. I hope I'm proven wrong. It would be nice. It's just I don't think we're at a stage where it really makes too much sense yet.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to now open up the floor to anybody who's got any questions. I'm also going to check in the lounge just in case there's any in there. But does anybody have any questions for John M around exchanges or PIVX and exchanges?
Don't all speak at once now, guys.
I know we've got a super shy crowd today. I'll give you guys a little bit more time.
I got one question if I could throw it out.
Sure. Sorry, who's speaking at the moment?
It's Tendo from Zenzo.
Oh, hey Tendo.
Well, it sounds like you're kind of involved with a lot of the the exchanges and stuff that's going around, and I've noticed it over the last couple of years because you were talking about the market making, and especially a lot of the changes with Bittrex and stuff like that. And you're talking about how a lot of the volumes are kind of wishy-washy. What would be a couple of your picks that you would think kind of follow, I don't know, let's say the mantra of what a good exchange should be? Because a lot of people hang on like Trade Ogre, but I looked at Trade Ogre and I was like, well, I can never get in contact with these guys. And then I started looking into it and I can never actually find a real person. So that kind of threw up some red flags for me. What would be just a couple exchanges that a newer coin kind of like ourselves would be a good place to go to?
All right. So there's a couple of things to consider here. One is obviously budget. Some coins have much bigger budgets than others, especially the ICOs, so they can usually approach the top 10 a lot quicker. But that being said, I think it's better to hit up these small exchanges and build up your volume. And again, with that, it's a double-edged sword because a lot of these small exchanges are either fly-by-night or not the greatest. When looking for an exchange that I trust personally, I always look at support. Will support answer you within 48 hours? If you send an initial request, then ideally 24, but I know some exchanges get a complete backlog, and it's messy. Now, I personally like Bittrex, but Bittrex is also very picky in what they list and not the easiest to get a hold of when you're trying to list. I know Circle or Poloniex is trying to open up a little more. When they bought it, it was completely backlogged. They had this massive backlog of everything to go through and bring up to compliant and all that stuff. So I know they're looking now, and I think that their selection process is a lot better now that Circle bought them out. It seems like it brought some legitimacy to the project. I'm really hoping that they move forward here. Now, as far as these small exchanges, it's a gamble on a lot of them. You're pretty much you'll apply to 3, maybe get 1, and hopefully that works out. But I always just recommend being able to make sure you can actually contact the team if you want. Someone at least is available from the company. I always recommend testing deposits and withdrawals, especially withdrawals, before you really try to move forward with them. And just research whatever you can about it. Research the team. What projects have they worked with in the past? What country are they in? And what sort of regulation do you see coming? Because sometimes people will want to trade, they send their money, and then all of a sudden, bam, they get hit with KYC. and then their money's locked until they do this. And I see this a lot in crypto, actually. So it's just have realistic expectations in what you want from the exchange, and just make sure that the exchange is working A, legally, and B, openly.
Thank you.
A question for you, John. What is the best way to make easier your job? I mean, you and I, we are in Telegram, and in the PIVX chat, we received maybe 1 or 2 offerings for listing in an exchange, And sometimes I don't want to send all this contact because are garbage or scammers. So, what's this? Can you give me a advice to know if this guy are legit or not? Because for me now everything is a scammer.
And these coins or these projects really prey on that. I shouldn't even say the projects, the scammers really prey on this. So one thing you can always do is, I know that sometimes there's just blatant scammers with their own idea coming out, and then there's a lot of imposters, right? So if you suspect somebody's from an exchange, just say, hey, I'm from such and such exchange, a prominent exchange, ask them to email you. And not only that, because anybody can spoof an email, reply to that email and have them reply back. Because if they're spoofing, they won't get the email that you send to the real one. So always have a conversation back and forth across email, no other means, just email. You can always look for like an official LinkedIn or stuff like that, but it really comes down to literacy on, do you know this is real? Is it a good fake? It's always tricky, right? So I just say, make sure you're in touch with who you think you're in touch with. You can even find them on LinkedIn, social media. Just look for the realest looking account. Usually with prominent ones, you can find verified accounts, and talk to them through that. Email their support system on the real site and say, hey, is this person officially working for you? It may take a day or 2 to get back, but it's always better than the alternative of being scammed.
Thank you, man.
Anytime.
We had a really good question in the lounge from Grumpy. I guess he's Grumpy Smurf. And the question is, any news on Poloniex?
So I've applied to Poloniex maybe 5 times in the last 2 months, hoping they'll reply. I know they do have that backlog I've spoken about. So I'm hoping... with Poloniex right now, I think they're working through that backlog, and they're going to look at projects that are going to make them millions in trading fees quickly. So like Grin, or but they added Polymath a while ago. These bigger prominence coins with more of a push now, like sustained long-term income is great, but they also want to be the one on that curve getting the fast return. So I think they look at those, and then projects like ours maybe push to the back burner. I know there's the whole conspiracy with Poloniex back when Tristan owned it, that Dash may have been paying to keep it suppressed. And I can't confirm that. Do I suspect it might be the case? Maybe. Or if somebody was, I'm not sure. But I don't personally know for sure. But I think, it'd be nice to get on Polo. Because I feel a lot of even though Polo isn't like, say, top 20 exchanges, for example, on CoinMarketCap, I think CoinMarketCap is a scam. I don't like CoinMarketCap. I think there's much better alternatives like CoinCap.io that's owned by Shapeshift, or CoinGecko. I think a lot of the volume there is actually organic and not a lot of trade bots like we see on those bigger exchanges.
John, what would you say are the top 5 exchanges if you exclude the ones with bogus volume?
Sorry, that's that's a tricky one, because I know we have like adjusted volume and stuff like that, but I do think so. There's your basic ones. I think Binance is a really good exchange. I actually like Binance a lot. We also see things like HitBTC. I think has some decent volume. I'm not sure of what level of market making bots there are. I know they obviously have market making bots. I'm just not sure at what level. I like CoinEal. CoinEal looks like a decent exchange as well. And then obviously I like Poloniex. I do like Poloniex, even though we're not there. I like Huobi Global. And I know in Canada we have one here called CoinSquare that I think is also a decent exchange. There are a couple decent exchanges. Now, decent exchange and compatible with PIVX may not be always the same thing, because some exchanges, I said, have that massive market maker wash volume, and we don't take that. But some of these that do have wash volume, I feel are secure and handled properly for the country that they're sort of based in. I just think that because crypto is global, sometimes you run into sort of regulatory and translation issues, so to speak.
Awesome. John M., thank you so much for your time. Does anybody have any other questions for John whilst we've got him here? Because it's not often that we get to speak to John M. So does anybody else have any other questions?
Sorry, I see people in chat talking about DEXs. And I just want to touch base on this because I know it's a sort of hot topic in the space. I think DEXs are a cool idea in theory, but I don't really think DEXs are at the level yet where they're ever going to be able to touch the centralized exchanges. It's cool for people like us. We've been in the space a while. We say, hey, okay, there's the normal trading. Let's look at something like a DEX. I don't think there are really any true DEXs yet, but I'm hoping someone can prove me wrong. Someone that's actually decentralized, either you know the team or you know that is hosted, decentralized, or all this stuff. So I just really feel that DEXs are great, but I just think they're not at the point yet where we're really that valuable to a project. Don't get me wrong, any project or any exchange is great to list the project. Like if anyone lists PIVX, I'm happy as long as they're legitimate. But it's I just don't think they're that revolutionary or game changing yet.
John, just had a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Just Coin It Worldwide. Just had a quick question. What I really want to understand is like the mindset of how you guys have been consistently working and developing the system and the platform. How is it that you're looking to evolve from what you have accomplished so far in the direction that you're headed?
Sure. So I think the finance industry is huge. You know what I mean? Even the whole crypto market cap is just but a speck of sand sort of on the beach. So I think as we grow and gain legitimacy, we can start targeting bigger companies, bigger partnerships, companies that we may not have been able to approach 6 months ago or a year ago. We can approach now. And I still think we have a long way to go. Crypto is it's about 10 years old, but it's still in its infancy, right? So I think we have room to grow in a lot of aspects. A lot of these bigger companies that sort of bring in adoption. And I think now's a good time to do that. We start seeing crypto gaining legitimacy, like the new Samsung phones. Have their crypto key stores built right into them. So obviously, or like Microsoft takes Bitcoin for their online purchases and stuff like that. These big companies are starting to look at it. And that's just for the payment side. Like they still have the back end stuff like the banks are working on. I will say JP Morgan coin is a scam. But anything else is very, very... sorry, I just had a brain fart mid-sentence. Before I said JP Morgan coin, I forget what I said there. Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. So that's pretty good. I kind of comprehend what you're stating. My question would be is, okay, so we are where we are today. Do you have any specific short-term goals or long-term goals, or do you have any specific concepts in mind, or any individual businesses that you were not able to touch base with them before? Now you're looking to touch base. Are there any specific approaches, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing for PIVX is community. We need that community. We need that marketing. We need that organic growth from inside the community, because that's really what these services look for. Because they could add 1 million crypto coins, no one's going to use them. So they want to make sure that they have a base of people willing to use it and make it worth their time to integrate it. So I think that's probably the most important thing as far as adoption goes or stuff like that, or getting these bigger companies to look at us is the user base and the volume. Real volume, not the fake volume, because it's sort of this like untouched topic where everybody knows it's fake volume. You know what I mean? Everybody knows, but no one really wants to talk about the elephant in the room.
No, 100%. No, I can't understand where you're coming from. So what is it? So now that we've pinpointed that, fine, we need a lot more. Well, we need improvised and more educated community, but not to a point where we are today, but the objective to grow it out. So what are some of your, well, I don't say yours, I think it's a part of a community question is, what is it that the community and the team are looking to cooperate and accomplish together, and the different means of strategy to acquire these type of certain short-term goals as far as what the community is, where it should be, what is it, what is the objective or the amount that a community can get involved or evolve towards. Because I've always realized that, a lot of people, they feel that they could rise to their level of expectation. But the problem is it all really depends on the level of preparation. And during these times, I feel this is the best time to prepare so then we can hit the mark that we're expecting to hit.
Agreed. I think this is definitely build time, especially during bear markets. That's when you build. Obviously, not every project can do that because as the price drops, their funding drops as well. But I really think it really is a community effort and a group effort. All parts of the machine have to be working properly to propel it forward. So I like the community having a social media presence. That's a big thing, especially in today's age. The events teams, also very important. The developers, obviously. I love our developers. I think they're great. But unfortunately, a lot of the times in crypto, the market just doesn't care. You can have the greatest tech in the world, but if you don't have that proper marketing or you don't have volume, you go by the wayside. And that's unfortunate. I've seen a lot of projects sort of fall that way. But I think now is definitely the time to build. Now's the time to really get your community strong, because if the bull run does happen, not saying it will, but if it does, then you're sort of better prepared for it, because nothing wrecks projects like a total spike in volume and user base and not being able to keep up with it. Cryptos and exchanges, the same. So I think that's sort of a universal problem for everybody. And just staying ahead of that and having strong communication within the community is your key mitigating factor there.
Cool. Well, I'd like to thank you for your time. I just happened to be in the Discord channel and I saw a voice call. I said, hey, there's always good when the community is getting together and the team is getting together and communicating, because not majority are doing. So it's good that the fact that everybody's getting together and communicating, agreeing that where they are today and where they want to head at least.
Oh, definitely. One thing I also want to touch on. Sorry, thanks for your question. Those were really good questions. I'm also in talks with a media giant, so I'm trying to look at this thing here and get it sorted out. It reaches. There's 3 different companies. They all sort of work together, but combined, they're almost at 500 million potential views, like 500 million with a B. So I'm really excited to be working on that, and hopefully we can figure something out here to sort of push PIVX knowledge out into the masses a little more here.
Absolutely. John, just had another quick thing. Whenever you have a moment, because I am actually working on building a space, not just for existing individuals in the blockchain of the cryptocurrency, but actually for the new era that may join. So I had some concepts and ideas, and I feel like maybe it would create definitely a lot more value for PIVX as a project as well, and for the community. So if you do have a moment, I'd love to take a call after this voice call, or we can schedule something.
Yeah, anytime. Just toss me a PM and we can always chat.
And thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
John, I've got one more question. We were on Changelly for a while, but we're not. I don't think we are now. I'm not sure what's happening there. You probably will know. Are there any plans for us to go on to any other like non-custodial instant exchanges like that?
That's something I really want to get on. Changelly didn't work out through their incompetence. I'm not afraid to say that one. They messed up, and we weren't willing to pay for their mistake. So we sort of butted heads with Changelly, and I believe they took us off. But I think a lot of news is coming to light about Changelly, and there's not a lot of happy people. I'll leave it at that, because I obviously don't want to bash them, but it just didn't work out with us. So yeah, I'm definitely looking for other options. I have been talking with Coin Payments. I really want to strengthen that relationship. Absolutely. I have a friend there, Samir, a really good guy. So it's nice to have that sort of point of contact, but I really want to build on that relationship and really get us to the forefront. I know they're launching an exchange. We're already guaranteed on that exchange, which is nice. So I guess we'll see how that one goes.
Awesome. John M., thank you so much for your time. Absolutely fascinating stuff. It's great to have your insight. Does anybody else have any other questions for any of the guests that are still here? I think they're all still here. Just basically, I'm wrapping up now because we've just run over by a few minutes. So if anybody else has got anything else to ask any of our guests who are Zenzo or OneZetty or John M., anything else just before we go?
I just want to give OneZetty a shout out. You do an awesome job, and thanks for doing what you do.
Muchas gracias, señor John.
Awesome. Okay, well, yeah, thanks so much for coming, all three of you. Thank you so much to Zenzo. Thank you so much to OneZetty. It's awesome to actually hear your voice after all these years. And thank you so much to John M. Please look forward to the next of these governance calls, which will be in a month from now. I have no idea who the guests will be, so we'll find out. I guess we'll find out what's happened with the Zenzo. If that's gone through, then that one should be done and dusted within a month. Other than that, keep your eyes on the Discord. We have got a budget proposals channel and also an alliance development channel, which all the things that relate to these calls are always added in there. And yeah, thanks for listening, and thanks for getting involved with PIVX. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cryptos.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, CryptoSI. Gracias a todos.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
This show is brought to you by PIVX, private instant verified transactions. With its groundbreaking zero coin staking and masternodes, PIVX is the top privacy currency. Feel free to trade some on Binance or Bittrex. And for more information, go to www.pivx.org.